Hello and welcome to Wildly Curious, a podcast that tells you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
I'm Katy, and today is the last episode of Cosmic Critters for this season. And then next week we have one more episode, full-length episode, and then we're going to quote-unquote take a season break. It's not really a break. We're going to be doing mini-sodes.
Yeah.
Do we just want to go ahead and announce what those mini-sodes episodes are going to be?
Or just be like, we'll tell them
wait
next
till
week.
next week?
Yeah, we'll tell them.
Yeah, let's just wait till next week. You have to wait till next week to find out. I think it's going to be cool. So,
Yeah. And I actually do have nature news thanks to Paul, one of our most avid recent listeners. Paul sent me some nature news, thankfully, so I didn't have to look anything up. Yeah. So, thankfully, we have discovered a new species of dinosaur.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yes. So scientists, this is from NBC News, but it's all over the place from about 2 weeks ago. Scientists discover a weird Mongolian dinosaur, and it's part of that group of dinosaurs called therizinosaurs. They look terrifying. They've got usually 3 giant claws. They're like a big bird, long neck. They look like something that would rip you apart, but really they're just plant eaters. So normally they have 3 giant claws. This one only has 2 giant claws.
Yeah.
That makes it, that's how we know it's different. Its name is Deinonychus 2. And then, boy, this is definitely probably where it was found, but Sogbaatari, maybe? Anyway, 2-foot-long claws on each hand.
Oh
that is
my gosh.
excessive.
Is it like machetes? Do they think it was just like machete?
It's supposed to be just for grabbing and pull, like basically sloth claws.
Okay.
And the same purpose practically, not hanging upside down, but grabbing a branch and bringing it to your mouth.
Okay.
So
not like bushwhacking.
I guess not, although they are. The actual bone digit looks crazy sharp, but who knows what was the keratin sheath. But yeah, I mean, they were like, these are already a weird group of dinosaurs, and they're like, and now we have an even weirder one, because this one just has minus a digit. Yeah. But just like any animal group, evolution plays around with body styles, and if it's not detrimental.
Yeah, right?
So yeah, new species of dinosaur.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I saw like nowadays, like now they're starting to draw like more and more accurate, like filling in the skeleton and everything. And they've been doing that because they were going back and I was like, okay, if we drew present day animals.
Yeah.
If you look like present day animals, how we draw dinosaurs based off it's ridiculous. If you look up a hippo or a squirrel, it's just
the baboon
nuts.
is like nightmare fuel.
No, right? Right. So it's definitely getting better. There's several, science artists that
they're
I follow on Blue Sky.
paleo artists.
Yeah, paleos are crazy, but it's so cool. And some of the stuff that they're doing is really, really neat. So, alrighty. Well, Laura's going to talk about this last cosmic critter one that we have.
How do I connect the evolution? I don't know. I feel like we're going out on such a downer.
Oh, no.
Well, it's just
for science.
For science. Yeah, for science. And what we have done in the name of science. This one really hurts my heart, but it's Ham the Chimp.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
This is a hard one.
So, we have gone from, we've done frogs and cats and Alberts 1 through 3 and all these other ones. And all of them are, ethically questionable. Ham the Chimp, though, just takes it from me. I guess we needed to do it, but geez Louise. Okay.
Yeah. Especially since the intelligent level is just a whole other...
Yeah. So, so trigger warning for anyone out there who doesn't want to hear, any kind of animal abuse. This is definitely that. So Ham the Chimp.
This is before we had laws and everything against that to protect animals.
Ham, who's named after... His name is actually an acronym for the Holloman Aerospace Medical Center. A.k.a. number 65, was a chimpanzee. He was born in 1957 in the French Cameroons, trapped, sent to live in Florida, and then bought by the Air Force.
What a weird
journey. And he was very young when he was bought. He was still considered a baby when he was bought by the Air Force. So before launching a human, scientists wanted to make sure, so the last goal, because this is happening fairly recently compared to some of the other ones we talked about, people wanted to see, could something survive up there? And then once we found something survived up there, we more and more and more.
Yeah,
this one was
progressively getting more.
Yes, which is why they're getting closer and closer to people. So they wanted to make sure that motor tasks were possible in space, not just being a passenger, but you could actually do things in space, because they didn't know. They were like,
Yeah.
in like anti-gravity, can you move? And since chimps are as close to us as they could get, chimpanzees it was. So 40 chimps were trained for Project Mercury. They were also known as the Astro Chimps, which is a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
And they were trained in all the usual stuff that we've talked about with some of our other animals. G-force, microgravity, and they were trained to pull levers during these. Whatever they were being, the microgravity, all of that.
Yeah.
They had to pull levers during. Of the 40, 6 were finalists. So 6 made it through space camp.
Yeah. Which at least let's put a positive spin on it. Space camp.
Yeah.
For chimps.
Finalists then went to Cape Canaveral in Florida, where they did more training and tests in an imitation Mercury capsule. So, like, really close to, okay, can they fit in this space? Are they going to be okay? All of this stuff. Finally, our boy, Ham, and a female were chosen the day before launch as the final 2, with the female being the backup. Why Ham? Because he was acting particularly feisty and in good humor. So they figured they wanted
Poor
somebody
guy.
they wanted somebody with a good personality to go up there.
Meanwhile, he's just trying to be like, just live his chimp life. He's just, I'm happy today. They're like, you're going, bud. Like,
Yeah. You
No
had a
clue.
good
He
day.
had no clue.
Not anymore. So the Mercury capsule was the Mercury spacecraft number 5, and the chimpanzee would be strapped in a harness inside a pressurized capsule inside the craft itself. So you've got your Mercury, and then inside is this tiny little capsule that was pressurized. It is 40 inches by 20 inches by 16 inches. Essentially a coffin.
geez.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was only 37 pounds, so he was
No.
a juvenile. Essentially a coffin that they called a couch, because I'm sure it made them feel better.
Yeah, right? Like, guys, come on now.
Just as a reminder, I just couldn't keep thinking out of my head, that he's a toddler chimpanzee who would have
Yes.
still been nursing in the wild.
Yes.
That's how little he is. He is
Yes.
baby, or a toddler, okay? So, toddler strapped into this thing, launched into space on January 31st, 1961. He was supposed to go 115 miles high and 4,400 miles per hour. Not to make a pun, but he went ham and shot 157 miles high, was significantly higher, and
Yeah.
5,857 miles per hour. You know, just another almost 1,000 miles, another 800 miles per hour more,
Jeez.
which made him land 132 miles off course. So they're shooting him up into space and expecting him to land in the ocean, but he lands in the ocean 132 miles from where they expect to pick him up. So in that time, he experienced 6.6 minutes of weightlessness, and his total flight time was only 16.5 minutes because he was just going so freaking fast.
Yeah.
So he was only up there for a little bit, but it was really fast.
That has to be so, like, we've talked about this with all the other animals, how confusing this has to be, but I don't think anybody else, now, did Ham have a window?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think
because
so.
again, you have to realize, okay, out of all the other animals we've talked about, we've all, oh, hey, they don't have a window, like the cats are probably just like in a box again, and they're like, oh, this is another stupid test. Like, they for all they know,
Yeah.
they're still on Earth.
Yeah.
Ham, though, for all he knows, he's still on Earth, but there's a whole other level of intelligence compared to the other animals that we've talked about so far.
And he's certainly going faster and experiencing more G-force than he ever experienced before.
And he's mentally, yes, he's intelligent, but he's also mentally
a toddler.
Toddler.
Right.
Yes.
Disaster struck when the spacecraft lost pressure in space, but thankfully was averted due to the fact that he had that specialized pressure capsule. So the main capsule failed. His tank did not, but he did land in the ocean, and because of that external one being depressurized, it started filling with water. Thank the Lord they got to him in time, because he was 132 miles off course. So
Yeah.
the internal capsule was glass for sure. So he could certainly see the water filling up. Because I've seen you can look up him in this little couch. So it says he was reportedly not completely traumatized, as he immediately wanted to eat. So an admiral got him out of the water, and there's like pictures of him, And they hand him an apple, and he is like ready to eat it immediately, and held hands with the commander. So he was like, okay, like, I guess I'll have a snack. But he totally freaking lost it for the paparazzi, because they wanted him back in the capsule for pictures.
Yeah.
And it took
that
3 men to calm him down, a toddler-sized little chimpanzee.
But they're strong.
3 men to calm him down for pictures next to the capsule. And they could not make him get back in it because he was losing his mind. Because, yes, he was traumatized. Yeah.
Yes.
He is not going back in there.
Jeez.
So the results, was it worth it? Other than tired and a little dehydrated, he was fine, even after some pretty bad circumstances. He was physically fine. And they did find that he could perform those motor skills. So remember, his only job up there was to pull a lever. Can you imagine us? Okay, me, Alora, my 3.5-year-old, she's pretty smart. She could probably do this. But can you imagine just the general, like, we're going to send a 3-year-old into space. All right, guys, don't freak out. No crying. Pull this lever.
Yeah.
Pull it. No matter what happens, you pull this lever. Like,
Pull the lever.
the actual difference of being like, we would never do that. We would never send a toddler into space.
Yeah. And what year? You said he was born in
He was
1957.
He was 61, so he was only 4.
Okay, hold on. Let me look up.
And 37 pounds. So, yeah, they said he was still nursing. He would have been nursing if he was a wild chimpanzee.
So, well, because what I was looking at is when did Jane Goodall start her research on chimpanzees? And it was like 1960. So it was around the same time. So I guess, because you figure she was the premier primatologist as far as chimpanzees went in their understanding. So I don't want to say, in their defense, we didn't realize just how smart they were. But at the same time, it was like her work was just really making headlines around the same time as this. So I don't think, at least behavior-wise, I don't know if we really had a grasp. Like, probably, they're smart, but not knowing just how intelligent. They're
physically like us and pretty smart.
Yeah.
So he did. He did pull the lever even under all that stress, which showed that humans could move in space. And it gave scientists and astronauts the confidence that they needed to put a man inside. This was the last step. This was it.
You know what? The frogs probably could have proven that the things could move if they didn't cut their nerves.
They didn't sever all their freaking nerves.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my gosh. Well,
R.I.P. Pierre and Tinon.
Okay, so kind of a happy ending to the story. Kind of. So Ham went to live at the DC Zoo in 1963, so 2 years later. He was still living with the military until then. But when he was 6, he went to go live at the DC Zoo, and he lived there until 1980 when he was moved to the North Carolina Zoological Park. So he died in 1983 at around age 26, which seems old to people, but it's not very old for a chimpanzee.
Yeah, not for a chimp.
That's like half of a chimpanzee's normal life, almost.
Yeah. Trauma probably reduced,
And probably the most tragic part is for the first 17 years, so that's until he moved to, so while he was at the DC Zoo, and again, this is nothing against zoos. You all know us, like, listeners.
Yeah, we're for zoos.
Pro zoo, but we just didn't know. Zoos just didn't know back in the day.
Yeah.
What was and was not good animal husbandry about some things. He lived completely alone.
Oh,
the entire time. Well, probably because too
he had no idea.
He had no idea how to be a chimpanzee. Yeah. He was raised by people.
Yeah.
And then literally sent to space. He had nothing in common with chimpanzees.
Like, we've seen that, and there have been documented cases about how bad that is whenever you have chimps that are human raised.
Right.
And then
we knew one that couldn't be in with males. He could only be in with the females.
Yeah. And so
this poor guy lived alone until then, when he went to North Carolina. I guess they were able to integrate him at least with some others. So he died with others. His last 3 years of his life, he got to spend with other chimpanzees, and part of him is buried there. But his other remains, so I think his skeleton might be there. But his other remains, they wanted to look inside and see, now that he's dead, did the space affect him? His other remains are buried at the International Space Hall of Fame in New Mexico. So he's also got like a memorial place there. So that's like the tragic but very important story of Ham. He was the last step for us to be able to know it was safe to send humans into space, and that was 1961, so we were really close to being like, all right, let's do this, let's go to space.
Yeah, let's just send this one last thing
Little
up.
toddler.
So one last
toddler
thing
chimp.
up in check. Yeah.
Poor Ham.
Right? I still, anytime I think about Ham, I referenced this in an earlier episode. I think it was the cat one you did. Disney's Rocket Man.
Oh, yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's
With
a
the
chimp in
chimpanzee
there
one.
too,
Yeah.
where he's like kind of competing against the chimp,
Yeah.
but their intelligence is like the same level and everything. Such a good movie. Such a dumb good
such a
movie,
dumb
guys. If you
movie,
guys
yeah.
haven't, if you guys haven't seen it.
So I guess, though, that we said that this series was all about how animals laid the foundation for us to be able to be in space.
Yeah.
So, like, this last one, they all have done that.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, for everything. Studying anything from like the overall effects to like particular systems within animals. And then later on, things like the spiders, just as you see the effects of just generalized orientation of the world around you and everything. But yeah.
Pretty amazing.
It is amazing. And it, again, I can't get over the window thing. Like, to give them
I don't
a
know
window.
if it would be better or worse. We talked about that before
Exactly.
too, right? Would it be better or worse to see what's going on? I think he'd be freaking out more.
Yeah, I think they would be freaking out more because the absence of knowing or not knowing
Because
what
also
you're
everything
going
would be
through.
on fire for like half of the
Yeah.
time too, probably.
Right? Yeah. Man. All right, guys, that's the last of the Cosmic Critters. We have another regular full episode next week, and then we will go into a season break where we're just going to do a string of the mini-sodes, and then you'll have to tune in next week then to hear what those mini episodes are going to be for the season break, and then we will start and kick up season 12. That's it. Again, we say this every time, but it's amazing. We have some really cool and exciting things coming up in the season break that we're going to tease for season 12. At least that I'm really excited about.
Yes, I'm excited too. And if anybody is curious, I know sometimes people are like, man, I really wish I knew more what Katy and Laura looked like. You can see us on YouTube.
Yeah, go watch our full-length videos. I do put a bunch of episode shorts up there, which Laura and I keep saying that are so funny out of context. So yeah, until next week, guys, go check us out, like I said, on Patreon and YouTube, and then we will talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.